Alright, welcome back. So this last week I've been trying to figure out how to create a unique and interesting movement system. And I kind of just went back to the basics, taking notes and scrolling through blueprints on an already developed code to try and figure out where everything needs to go and what I need to do to create a complete movement system. The hope is that by next video everything will be in order and I can actually start making my own unique movement system. But for now, this will be mostly just reviewing Unreal Engine's sample animation system. So there was the obvious system, which was just WASD is your movement keys, right? That's your input. That's what the player's actually doing. And then there was a middle layer that I wasn't actually used to having, which is like the brain of everything. Because this system is constantly checking things like, are you moving right now? How fast are you moving? Are you in the air? Did you just land? And it's doing that every single frame, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. And I didn't realize how important it was until I started looking at it more closely. Because nothing happens instantly. Everything's based off of conditions. Like, you don't just jump. The system checks if you're allowed to jump. If you're already in the air, you can't jump. If you're in the middle of another action, you can't jump. So it needs to have this system to actually make sure everything's working properly and the animations can follow what you're doing. So that gets into animations, which isn't as simple as just playing an animation, because it's not just, oh, he's running, so we'll play the running animation. It's blending between the two. If you go from walking to running, it needs to be seamless in going into those different states. And I feel like that's one of those things that you don't really notice unless it's broken. If you remove that blending and it just goes from standing still to walking to running, it looks really bad. It looks stiff and robotic. But as soon as you add in these blending animations, then everything looks very simple. So that's kind of the main structure. There are inputs, and then there's that decision-making layer, which is the layer where all of the brains of the operation happens. And then once that's all figured out, then it goes into the animations. And obviously that's simplifying it a lot. There are a ton of smaller systems inside each of those parts, like how movement speed is calculated, how direction affects the animations, and how all the transitions are timed. But they all kind of fit into that same overall idea. And for my game specifically, this matters way more than I thought it would. Because even though it's a farming game, movement is something that you're doing constantly. Like, you're always going to be walking around and interacting with things and moving between different areas. So if that doesn't feel good, then it's just going to make the entire experience feel way worse, even if you don't notice it right away. So for now, I didn't really change much with this system. I just kind of looked through it and figured out what was already there and how it all connects with one another. But the next video is going to be way more of me actually messing with it and changing how it feels and making it a little more responsive in the way that I want, because I'm not just going to copy over some already existing movement system when it's not exactly what I want. So I'm going to edit it and make it feel more like how I want the game to feel. Because right now the system is very solid, but it's not mine. So yeah, this is basically step one. Just understanding the system before I start breaking it in. And with that, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you've enjoyed it so far. There's a lot more to come.